Welcome to Lesson 7 Part 3. In this final video, we're going to create a game called Apple Drop. Now, the aim of Apple Drop is as follows. First of all, there'll be a number of spawners on the world, each one will be dropping apples at different intervals. As an apple is dropped, 1 point will be added to a score. If that score should reach 10, you will lose. When you bump the apples, you're going to eat them, and what this will do is it'll reduce the score by 1. So the apples add to the score, you eating the apples reduces the score. A timer will count for 60 seconds, and if the time runs out, you win the level. And if you want to, you can then create more levels with additional difficulty. Attempt to do this yourself first before you watch the video, and if you get stuck, continue through the video and watch what I do to create the game. Have fun. So, this is the game world which we set up in the last couple of videos. Just to show you what's been set up so far, if I right click on my cycle, go to program, we've got him so that he moves. So when the keyboard and the WASD keys are pressed, he moves quickly. We've got an apple, which is a creatable, and we've got a flying saucer, which is our spawner. Our spawner is programmed to say that every 5 seconds is going to create an apple. Finally, we have our rock, which is being used for a countdown timer. If I go to the programming on this one, if you remember, we started off with only do statements on page 1, which said set score to 10 points, the score being purple. We also have to switch to page 2 to see the next bit of coding. So if I switch to page 2, we have a timer that counts 1 second, and for each second it subtracts the purple score by 1 point. We then have a second line of code which says when the purple score is equal to 0, the game ends. And what we actually want to do now is change this so that it says that we win the game. So, that's the basic setup done. Let's finish this game off. Right, let's get started with making this into a game. Now we know what the basic setup is. The first thing we need to do is we need to modify our spawner. If I go to the program, what I need to do is I need to add it so that for every apple it drops, we add 1 point to a score. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say when, and I'm going to select at this point in time the timer. I'm going to select 5 seconds, and then I'm going to say do. I'm going to go to game, and I'm going to go to score. I'm going to select a colour, so for this one I'll do red, and I'm going to select to add 1 point to this. Now the key to this particular problem is that you need to make sure that the timer when it's dropping the apples is the same amount of time as the timer for adding a point to the score. If these two differ, you'll get some problems. Let's try it and see if this works. So we can see the countdown timer, and we can also see there's a red score at that which has been added to as soon as it's dropped an apple. So that's good, that's exactly what we want. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need something to check the score to see if it's actually doing what it needs to do. So you can program one of the spawners if you wish, or we can program the rock. What I'm going to do, because the rock is only there as timing and checking, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to program, I'm going to switch to page 2, and I'm going to select another line here which says when scored and red, and I'm going to make it equal to 10 points, then do, and I'm going to go to game, and I'm going to go to end. Now what I'm also going to do here, just whilst I'm on this page, is change the purple score so that when the timer, the countdown, has reached 0, we actually win the game. So we have our win and our lose events. Let's try this and make sure that it works. So, play the game, and at this point I'm going to speed up the video so that you can see what happens when our score reaches 10. Perfect. So it's reached 10 and the game has ended. So now that we've got that working, what we need to do is we need to make it so that our character, when he collects an apple, will reduce that score by 1. Let's do this now. If I right click on my character with the object tool selected and go to program, I'm going to select now to say that when I bump an apple, I'm going to eat it, and that will remove it from the world. And the second line is going to be when I have got an apple, I am going to change the score. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to do a subtract from score. I'm going to select red and I'm going to select 1 point. Now let's give this a try and make sure it works. And then finally we'll add the difficulty to our level by adding more spawners, dropping more apples, so we have to be quick to catch them all. So here we go, my character's moving around now, and I'll prepare for the drop of the apple. Here it is. So 1's been added to the score, and if I go and collect that apple, we've subtracted 1 from the score, so we can keep the score down at 0 at this point in time. Now as you can imagine, that this game is rather easy as it stands. We could quite easily manage to get to the end of this world, and after we've collected only a few apples, then because it's a 5-second timer, we wouldn't even have to collect any more at this point to actually still win the game. So we need to add a bit of difficulty to this level. What we'll do then is we'll start off by copying and pasting the flying saucer a couple of times. What that will mean is that every single time 5 seconds elapses, 3 apples will be dropped, and we'll have to be a bit quicker at collecting them. So, let me right click, copy him, and I'm going to paste 2 more onto the world. So 1 over there, and I'll put 1 somewhere near me. This will give us a bit of travel distance to go through as well, so we'll have to sort of work very quickly to collect each one. Let's give this a try and see what its difficulty is like. So to begin with, 3 apples have spawned, 3 have gone to the top corner there. So now, with my character, I've got to be pretty quick, and I've got to collect all of these different apples. Now luckily, when they spawn, they often come fairly close to each other, but as you can see, that this is much more challenging now, as multiples of apples are dropping onto the world, and I'm having to get around pretty quickly, and if I miss any, then that's where I'm going to have some problems, I think. Now, this is the basic setup for this game, so it's time for you to experiment. Okay? Change the levels, change the difficulty, change the layout of the spawners, and see if you can actually create a game of your own which is sort of fun and interesting and also challenging as well. Good luck, and as I win this game, I will sign off from this lesson. See you in lesson 8.